Imagine a system, one designed to be totally impartial, where justice is supposed to be blind. But then suddenly it finds itself under just immense political pressure. What happens when the very people sworn to uphold the law are asked, maybe even told, to bend it for political reasons?
That is the explosive question right at the heart of Geoffrey Berman's book, Holding the Line. And that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah, our mission for you today is really to unpack the most important insights from his time as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. And it isn't just a memoir, is it? It's more like a critical inside look at how easily our legal institutions can be threatened by politics.
Exactly. We're going to focus on how Berman gets his message across. It's quite sophisticated, this urgent warning about keeping prosecution independent. We want to pull out the key nuggets for you.
And just so you know, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis. Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. This book came out in September 2022. That was a time, you might remember, of pretty high tension around the independence of the Justice Department. Lots of talk about political influence, especially during the Trump administration. So what was the real driving force? What really pushed Berman to write this book now?
Oh, the reason is, well, it's crystal clear. Berman is writing directly because of specific, repeated attempts by top administration officials to, frankly, use prosecution as a political tool. He saw this pattern emerging, not just one-offs, and he believed it was a direct threat to the integrity of the whole legal system, the bedrock of democratic governance. It wasn't just looking back. It was an urgent, this is happening now kind of motivation.
So his goal wasn't simply recounting events then. He wanted to sound an alarm, really advocate for something more fundamental.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His purpose is really twofold. First, inform and warn people about the political interference he saw inside the Justice Department. But second, and this is just as crucial, he wants to persuade you, the reader, to really value prosecutorial independence and to defend it vigorously. He doesn't just list controversial things that happened, he documents them carefully and then pushes for specific systemic reforms he thinks would protect legal institutions from this kind of political pressure down the line.
Okay, so to really get the weight of Berman's claims, we need to understand who he is. Who is Geoffrey Berman, and why should we, trust his account?
All right, so Geoffrey Berman was the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, the SDNY. It's a hugely significant role, carries a lot of legal weight and public trust. His credibility, his ethos, it's built on deep legal expertise, his direct firsthand experience right in the thick of federal prosecution, and also the very high-profile cases his office handled. Think about cases involving Jeffrey Epstein or major financial crime investigations. Plus, his work after leaving government as a law professor and in private practice, that just adds to his standing. He's not just some disgruntled official. He's a respected legal figure.
So it wasn't just that he knew the law. It was a real demonstrated commitment to independence that made him such a key figure in this.
Precisely. Yeah, he consistently emphasizes that credibility by pointing to the SDNY's really strong tradition of independence and rigor. He keeps presenting his office as kind of a model for how prosecution should work, free from political sway. And the detail he goes into, the specifics when he talks about individual cases, that really builds trust. It shows his expertise. He puts you right there, Makes it clear this isn't just theory, it's based on hard experience.
Okay, so we understand who Berman is, his commitment. Now, the real core of Holding the Line is these specific clashes he faced. What were some of those moments of intense pressure where that line between law and politics got really blurry? How did he handle them?
Well, the book really gets into some explosive situations where Berman's office was directly clashing with the top levels of the Justice Department in D.C. He details cases he argues were just overtly manipulated for political gain. A really striking one involves the pressure he faced regarding Michael Flynn's former business partner, Bijan Rafiekian. Berman writes that a top DOJ official basically told him the case was politically sensitive, and the SDNY needed to find a way to, let Rafiekian off, despite the evidence. He talks about refusing, sticking to the original plea, and the intense pushback he got for that.
Wow. So not just subtle hints, but direct attempts to use the Justice Department for political reasons, for optics.
Exactly. Another huge one he details is how the Jeffrey Epstein case was handled. After Epstein was arrested, Berman says he faced pressure from Washington. They wanted to maybe transfer the case elsewhere or allow a plea deal that seemed more about minimizing political damage than actually serving justice. Berman really stood his ground there, made sure the SDNY kept control, and pursued it rigorously, even with, as he describes it, resistance from Maine justice. He also talks about investigations into Big Pharma, where he felt political factors were improperly influencing decisions. It sounds like it was just constant vigilance, fighting not just the bad guys, but interference from within his own department.
That sounds incredibly stressful for everyone involved, I mean. How does Berman get across the human side of this, the emotional toll it takes?
He does convey that really powerfully. The emotional stakes for people facing these kinds of ethical dilemmas. He describes these moments of feeling isolated, like he and his team were kind of alone, defending the rule of law against massive pressure. And he really highlights the harm this interference does, not just to the people targeted, but to the public's trust in the whole system. That's crucial. The book definitely evokes sympathy, sometimes maybe outrage. He uses these stories of personal courage, the team spirit, the esprit de corps, and the SDNY. You really feel the weight of what they believed in and the risks they took. Many reviews call it a cautionary tale, and you can see why. It taps into that fear of justice eroding.
And the title itself, Holding the Line, that feels very deliberate, doesn't it? What's that signifying in the big picture of his story?
Oh, absolutely. It's central to how he communicates everything. Holding the line becomes this running metaphor, for institutional integrity, ethical boundaries. It really emphasizes his feeling of being under siege, but also his refusal to back down.
Yeah.
His writing style reflects that too. It's very direct, legalistic, sometimes pretty blunt. And he often uses contrast, right? Saying the values and independence of the SDNY against what he saw happening at Maine justice under political influence. It starkly highlights that clash between an established culture of nonpartisanship and partisan maneuvering. It's about protecting that separation of powers, really, one tough decision at a time.
As you think about these tough ethical challenges and the kind of resilience it takes to face them, you might find yourself reflecting deeply. Much like we explore complex topics on Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel, which uses AI book analysis precisely to inspire reflection and rational thought. So moving beyond just exposing what happened, what does Berman ultimately hope to achieve with this book? What's the bigger picture he wants you, the listener, to take away? Why should these insights matter?
Yeah, his ultimate aim goes beyond just documenting things. It's really an urgent call for advocacy. He wants systemic reforms to protect legal institutions from this kind of thing happening again. And the book seems pretty effective at that. Most reviews mention how gripping it is and how important it is as a warning. In the final chapter, Berman lays out some concrete ideas for reform. For instance, he suggests that politically appointed officials, like a U.S. attorney, should only be removable for cause, like proven misconduct, not just whenever the administration wants. He also floats the idea that attorney general nominations should need a two-thirds Senate vote, not just a simple majority, to try and force more bipartisan consensus and reduce purely political picks.
Those are pretty significant changes he's suggesting. But how realistic are they, given how entrenched politics can be in these systems?
That's a really fair point, and it's something reviewers mention too. While his overall argument holds together, some critics do suggest that maybe those final reform proposals are a bit oversimplified. They argue the proposals don't fully grapple with the long, complicated history of DOJ politics, or the practical hurdles in changing how the executive branch works so fundamentally. But even if you question the specifics of the solutions, the core ethical argument of the book remains powerful. The need for fair, merit-based prosecution, and the importance of resisting partisan pressure. That message about transparency and accountability really comes through.
So it really stands as this powerful call for change, but one that's deeply rooted in his specific, documented experiences of resisting that intense pressure.
Exactly. His refusal to bend, which ultimately led to his dramatic firing, and then his writing this book to advocate for change, it makes the book a really strong example of public-facing legal argument. It shows how one person's commitment, their sticking to principle, can become a compelling case for wider reform. It shows you that, principle can stand up to pressure.
So we've walked through the complex territory of Geoffrey Berman's Holding the Line. We've seen how he uses his credibility, his personal stories, the facts he documents, all to warn against political interference in our justice system. I think the core question it leaves you with is, how vigilant do we really need to be, all of us, to protect the integrity of the institutions that are supposed to uphold democracy?
It's a heavy question, and we regularly explore intellectually demanding, crucial topics just like this on Mindful Moments and our other podcasts. We use AI book analysis there to really spark reflection and rational thinking.
To dive even deeper into Geoffrey Berman's powerful account, definitely click the link you see on screen for the in-depth book summary. Please subscribe to our channel, share this deep dive if you found it valuable, maybe consider purchasing the book via the link, and most importantly, always remember to think rationally.